Have you ever played a game that really resonated with you on a different level? A game that maybe you expected to like, probably even love, but it ended up being a whole beast you could never have expected. A lot of examples of games like this might include Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3, insanely successful games that did brilliantly in pretty much all regards. But some of these games may not have done nearly as good as you expect, or they have a bad reputation for one reason or another. Recently, I played through Assassin's Creed Odyssey in its entirety, for the second time in my life.
The gods will not always be with you. Embrace this journey, my child, as this is your Odyssey.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
The first time I played the game, I finished the main story and thought, damn, that was great, and promptly returned to Star Wars Battlefront 2 for some more galactic assault, where I wish everyone would just play the fucking objective. My playthrough was 63 hours long, and I felt satisfied. But this time was different. Oh, so very different. My first playthrough, I thought this was a 7 out of 10 game. Good, and an experience I don't regret, but not life-changing. This time was a 9.5 out of 10 for me. There are some minor gripes that we can still talk about in the video, such as combat and some janky things with Odyssey. And I finished the game at a playtime of 8 days, 23 hours, and 55 minutes. I was 5 minutes off 9 days total playtime, which is insane for me. The only games that I've spent this much time in are Mortal Kombat X or Mortal Kombat 11, fighting games, and maybe Star Wars Battlefront 2, an online third-person shooter. How did Odyssey hold my attention this long? Why was I coming home from work every day for 3 months wanting to continue playing as Kassandra? The story of Odyssey is long, it's true, but it's nowhere near as long as it took me to complete this game. Even with the DLC included and the cult storyline, the game could have been done in the 65 hours it took me originally. Maybe an extra 10 hours for proper DLC exploration. Maybe I speedran it the first time, except that can't be true, because I played this game during COVID the first time and played from morning to night until it was done. So how the hell did I manage to lose so much of my life here? Lose is of course the wrong word, because time spent in this game's world was not time lost, but time gained. The answer isn't the story of Odyssey, which is admittedly kinda just good, although it has some unhinged moments, but rather the world itself that Odyssey is set in. So sit down with me as I share my experience with this monster of a game, and also enjoy the jank of my first ever video essay type video that I've been wanting to make for a while. We're going to take a trip into ancient Greece. If you've played Odyssey, I'm sure you'll understand my point of view instantly, but if you haven't played this game, I hope I convince you, because whilst the Assassin's Creed logo on the title may be a bit misleading, the subtitle isn't. If this game is one thing, it's truly an Odyssey. There will be only minor story spoilers in this video, so feel free to watch and then play the game after. Let's begin with what is undeniably the best part of this game, open world and its setting. I have played lots of games with great open worlds in my time. You have your apocalypse settings like Fallout 4, and some fantasy settings like the also Bethesda gorgeous scenery of Skyrim. There's also open worlds set in bustling cities alive with NPCs, such as Cyberpunk or Saints Row 2, RIP Volition. I'm one who definitely enjoys the open world, and I do spend a lot of time doing my own random nonsense and making my own fun, but I'd never considered exploring an open world to the depth of my adventures in Odyssey. Odyssey's world manages to do all these things, albeit in different regions. You start the game on beautiful Kefalonia, a splendid island bustling with farmers and a giant statue of Zeus whose lightning bolt is very much climbable. Deny it all you want, you either climb Zeus's meat or you're a liar. There's also a voice line added for when you do it. After a fair couple hours of tutorial and setup for the main questline, you're given the world of Greece as your oyster, and the game definitely encourages you to embrace it to the fullest. With 2 modes of transport, ship and horse, you can travel how you choose once you make it to the mainland, and by here the mainland is enormous. While some areas are loosely level gated, meaning You can go at any time, but enemies in Messenia are not to be messed with until you're level 45. You can pretty much access all of Greece from the get-go, despite this. The main story takes you on a set course from Kefalonia to Megaris to Phokis, all large and gorgeous for you to explore. Megaris is closer to a city than Kefalonia is, and introduces you to the game's conflict, the Peloponnesian War between Sparta and Athens. With forts to sneak around and be an assassin in, a leader to kill, and a conquest battle you must help Sparta win. From there you're taken to beautiful Phokis, an autumnal mountainside region that's much larger than Kefalonia and Megaris combined. The golden leaves of Phokis house different towns, tombs, and fortresses, along with a couple optional side quests to introduce you to the larger world of Greece and its people. 10 hours in, and already having explored 3 different regions with different looks and vibes, you'd expect the rest of Greece to be relatively copy-pasted. For such a large world, surely they would be unable to keep each of the regions so unique, yes? Small spoiler alert, they are definitely capable of keeping everything unique. From here, the rest of the Greek world becomes more welcoming, more open to your skill set. But the most important part of this point in the adventure for me is that you're finally around level 20, which means you can go to the Greek islands and do whatever you want. If there was one word I would use to describe the Greek islands in this game, it would be breathtaking. Each one is unique and beautiful, and there are so many of them. First one you go to is Andros, a small beauty of white sand crunching beneath your feet, the serene aqua waves crashing along the shore. There's no towns or settlements on Andros, it's entirely unpopulated, aside from a few stragglers and a bunch of animals. If you venture to the east side of Andros, you encounter ankle-deep water, almost green in the lighting. Now if you go here too early, there is a chance that a Cyclops will come out and beat your head in, but he will do it in a brilliant oceanside arena, so it's worth it. Done with Andros? Why not check out Mykonos or Delos, where you'll be given a side quest plotline that lasts for a couple hours of gameplay and has you explore both Mykonos and Delos pretty effectively, both of which are just gorgeous. Mykonos has these white houses, is it a stucco? I don't know what the houses are made of, built into the island. Mykonos' sister island, Delos, is almost just as beautiful, but much smaller. There's an altar at the peak of the island where you get amazing views of the Aegean Sea and the surrounding islands. All these locations can be reached within the first 20 hours of gameplay, with hardly any progression of the main story. The game doesn't force you to follow the story, so you're free to explore as you please, but the story makes sure to hit the highlights of Greece. After Andros, you visit Athens, the jewel in the crown of Greece. A beautiful white city with giant bronze Athena watching from the peak of Athens. The city is bustling with life, democracy, and intrigue. You meet the locals, such as the ever-mad horny Alcibiades, annoying Socrates, the sculptor Phidias, and gorgeous yet mysterious Aspasia. After Athens, you visit Corinthia, one of the most beautiful cities in gaming. The pink trees, the sublime architecture, the beautiful hetera, and the public fountains / baths, I guess. Outside Corinth, to the south, is a rolling plain of orange clay, worked by the locals. Even the mud in this game is gorgeous. To the north, perched over Corinth with views of the entire Greek world, is the Acrocorinth, giving you a beautiful oversight view of Corinth, Argolis, and Achaia. The Acrocorinth is also visible from most points in the map, within the game's and your PC's draw distance, of course. You can make out the beautiful mountaintop temple from views in Athens and Arcadia. Speaking of Arcadia, the golden fields of grain can't be put into words. Yes, one of the most beautiful regions in this game is just a giant farm. The rolling fields of wheat in the sunset just can't be described accurately, and I truly wish that for just an hour I could be transported to the farms of Arcadia, just to watch golden hour fall over the farmlands. If you walk Kassandra through the fields of grain, she will reach out with her hand and feel the stalks pass beneath her. A small detail that really helps Kassandra, and you, the player, feel connected to this world. The last places I wanted to talk about are all from the Fate of Atlantis expansion, that being Elysium, the Underworld, and Atlantis. It cannot be understated the natural beauty that is Elysium, truly a place befitting of fallen heroes. Cities built into the tops of several mountains, connected by rope bridges, the ruins of Minos' faith and the ruined castles, and the cave in Faria's retreat is one of the most beautiful places in the whole game. Elysium has no day-night cycle, so it's just the sun rotating around the world, offering endless glow and gorgeous lighting. Next up is the Underworld, a place not befitting of the word beautiful. Whilst the Underworld isn't exactly a pretty scenery you'd like to take in, it's still a meticulously crafted space that draws you in. Hades' domain has a certain atmosphere around it. Dread, death, and despair drip from every corner and crevice. The barren pond, full of blood, the river Styx, which has a deathly green hue to it, even the daunting column of Tartarus looming overhead. The very air around Kassandra feels hard to breathe, and the miserable NPCs wandering around aimlessly tie the whole experience together. Finally, we have Atlantis. When I made it to Atlantis in the last 10 or so hours of my playthrough, I stopped for a good 10 minutes atop Poseidon's castle to take in the locale, a thing I'd done in many of the places I'd visited in Odyssey. In my opinion, Atlantis is the best looking place in Odyssey, from the pure white Isu architecture to the verticality of the city descending in and out of the perfect blue water surrounding it. The interiors of buildings, and specifically the main castle, were on another level, and there's only so much explaining I could do. The geometry and architecture in this city is truly amazing. Do yourself a favor and explore Atlantis, even if you can only do it once. One thing Odyssey does better than a lot of games, especially for a last-gen Xbox One and PS4 title, is lighting. I cannot express how good the lighting is in this game. I played on my Xbox Series X, and for the first time ever, I found myself using photo mode? I know, photo mode in games are an increasingly popular feature that is being added to more and more games that you wouldn't expect. Now, I'm all for features, and I've seen some pretty wild screenshots from some pretty unexpectedly beautiful games. But I finally had a reason to use it. A gorgeous game like this? Sign me up. I stopped in almost every region, every city even, just to take at least one beautiful screenshot to add to my collection. Some clever camera angles, and you can take advantage of the game's totally batshit crazy insane lighting. Whether it be golden sunsets reflected in the crisp blue ocean, the pale moonlight shining down on the forests of Macedonia, or some ridiculously picturesque temple half sunken into murky water in Elysium. The reason I remember all of these specific locations is because I stopped to take it all in. I stopped to absorb the scenery. I took pictures, and now I have memories of this game that I probably wouldn't have if I didn't. I'd also taken numerous pictures on a smaller scale, inside temples and caves, or anything that interested me. If it made a good wallpaper, it was taken and added to my folder. The Temple of Zeus in the Valley of Olympia is one example, a gorgeous marble structure with royal purple tapestries, all tied together with a large statue of Zeus seated upon his throne, peasants kneeling and worshipping at his feet. The only other game I've played since Odyssey is Ghost of Tsushima, also featuring a photo mode and an open world with beautiful sceneries and lighting that looks better than the real sunset glaring in our own sky. And this game also has me stopping every 10 minutes or so in some new random location to take a wallpaper screenshot. Such a minor feature, yet one that Odyssey made so integral to my experience that I immediately carried it across to the next game I played. And this isn't the only thing Odyssey trained into my brain. If I'm being totally honest, despite what I've been saying about the world of Greece and the open world and all the freedom, when talking about the story, Odyssey's story isn't some life-changing experience. Honestly, the story is rather alright. Not great, not bad, just good. You follow Kassandra, or you can pick her brother Alexios, as she finds her family, discovers her destiny, and frees Greece from the grasp of a dangerous conspiracy. It makes for an interesting questline to follow, and you do find yourself growing increasingly close to Kassandra and the large cast of supporting characters you keep running into along the way. I find the story at its strongest when the game engineers you into tragic situations. One of the best examples is the Plague of Athens, where the city is brought to its knees. As you follow the main questline, Pericles, the leader of Athens, is sick with plague and dying, but the rest of the city is also in utter chaos. People are dying, the followers of Ares are trying to stop you burning bodies to prevent spreading the disease. You've got to investigate some houses, the rival leader Cleon, who is a major dickhead, spoiler alert, is rallying the people against Pericles, and all in all, the city of Athens finds itself in a tricky situation for Kassandra to resolve almost entirely by herself. She gets very limited help from the supporting cast. Things get worse from here, and two major characters die in ways impossible for Kassandra to save them, both in the span of about 5 minutes from each other. These tragedies force you to move very quickly, and now you have to smuggle Aspasia, the Queen of Athens, out of Athens after your 2 failures and get her to safety. Except now Cleon runs the show, and Athens has become your enemy. The game's story doesn't force either Athens or Sparta to be the villains. They're both corrupt, and they're both going to fight you at one point or another. You can side with whoever you please whenever you please, or ignore the conflict altogether, as the story only really has a handful of major antagonists for Sparta and Athens, and you'll need to kill them both regardless. There really isn't much to write home about. The story does its job and it does it well, but I feel like the DLCs had a bit more going for them story-wise and felt more impactful. I enjoyed the story my first time, and I enjoyed it more my second time, but the real meat and potatoes of the game is your own exploration. You find more interesting questlines by just looking around, meeting random NPCs in Greece who all have their own issues that you get caught up in. One of the earliest examples is a random interaction you can have in Kefalonia in the first hour of the game, where you stumble across a priest about to murder a family. He claims that they're sick, and killing them will prevent plague, but the family beg for their lives, and you must choose. Let this family be slaughtered for the greater good, or kill the priest and spare them. Killing the priest is obviously the right choice, and the family are saved. Except it isn't, and saving the family results in the plague decimating Kefalonia, and anytime you return for the rest of the game, you are reminded of the devastation you could have prevented by executing a family. Yikes. Another way Assassin's Creed Odyssey encourages you to explore its vast and alive world is through the main objective of hunting down the Cult of Kosmos, a series of some minor and some major antagonists secretly funding the war effort on both sides to burn away the Greek world and control whatever is left behind. Some of these cultists are story relevant, and the player must wait until you progress the story far enough to meet and kill these targets, but majority of them are just open world targets for you to hunt down and kill in your own time. The game makes sure to give you everything you need to track down the cultists, giving you hints to their whereabouts or vague clues where you can find more information. One cultist clue has you sail off the coast of Fera, a barren volcano island with nothing but ruins on it. Although Fera has some more mysteries hidden beneath it, but I'll leave that for you to discover. And the clue reads only that a cultist ship sank off the coast of Fera. Sailing your ship down to Fera, you must patrol the coast until you eventually find some ruins deep in the sea. Dive from your ship and swim below to find a palace, sunken beneath the waves but still grand in design. After you find the clue, the cultist is yours from there. It's worth noting that majority of the cultists are not forced upon you. This is optional content that is mostly separate from the main questline. In fact, the Cult of Kosmos and the mystery surrounding them are actually their own questline that you only need to progress far enough to get the main story cultists. Other than that, it's entirely up to you to abandon or complete the cultist storyline from there. Some of the optional cultists take you to beautiful forest hideouts, such as the Sage hidden on the island of Chios at the top of the cultist fortress. Some are linked to their own side quests, such as the cultists on Kythera Island, another example of a truly breathtaking island in this game packed to the brim of breathtaking islands, who coincidentally gives you another hint to another side quest that will lead you to another cultist, and also a Minotaur, but that's a story for another time, I guess. My point is that the Cult of Kosmos is basically a glorified exploration reward system. You go explore these rather vaguely hinted at locations to find clues, which will send you to another location to explore and find the cultists, who will drop clues to other cultists for you to explore and find. Whilst the main quest only takes you to about 60% of the locations and regions in the game, the Cult of Cosmos storyline will take you to almost every other region as well, giving you a taste of just about everything Greece has to offer. This is aside from there are specifically 2 areas and regions of Greece where there are no cults and no story missions. They're just there for some reason, but they're fun to explore, which is all that matters. There is more to the game than the main quest, and once again, as you may have discovered is my point of this video, the game encourages you repeatedly to keep on exploring its alive world. Aside from the main quest, the Cult of Cosmos, and even the side quests, there are many more things to occupy your time in Odyssey, such as optional bounties, mythical beasts to hunt, and much more. One example are the Tombs of Greece, which can be found in almost every region. These tombs are optional locations. In fact, I don't even think the main quest takes you to a single tomb, only the Atlantis questline, which is DLC. But inside these tombs, each with its own set of mini labyrinth designs unique to each tomb, you'll find an ancient stele, which upon activation will reward you with a free ability point, which you'd normally have to grind out several quests to get a single level and earn. You get free upgrades just by taking the 10 minutes necessary to go out of your way and navigate a mostly hidden and out of the way tomb. You'll also find legendary gear through idle exploration, such as the Trident of Poseidon. Yes, the actual Trident of actual Poseidon, which can be found at any point in the game after you unlock your ship. Just sail to the small island off the coast of Samos, which is a pretty hidden location. No quests prompt you to go there until you start the DLC, and you'll find a statue of Poseidon. Fight a lion who lives on the island, and you can open the chest just sitting in the open and unlock Poseidon's Trident, a legendary weapon that gives you unlimited oxygen whilst underwater. And again, I cannot stress this enough, this can be done whenever you want after the tutorial in Kefalonia. Odyssey does a brilliant job of occupying your time with exploration, and I understand why a lot of people might feel like this game is a bit bloated, or even padded out to keep you playing for longer, but I don't feel this way. Maybe if the locations or activities were repeated, which admittedly some of the side quests do end up having a similar go here do this vibe to them, but that gets counteracted by the deep lore and story that each random NPC in Odyssey supplies you with before you go find their son who's lost in a cave full of wolves because he misses his pater or something like that. My point is, it's not padded out bloated gameplay if it's still deeply satisfying and always offering you something you didn't have before. Something you didn't want perhaps, but more often than not, it's something you didn't know you needed. Where Odyssey either sticks the landing or misses for a lot of people is the RPG aspect. And the fact that this isn't Skyrim or Fallout, most of the time when Odyssey gives you a choice, it's actually giving you the illusion of a choice. The story is scripted to go one of 2 ways, and whilst the game implies you have more freedom in choice than this, more often than not, Kassandra will end up doing what she's supposed to do, aside from a few small examples. There are some impactful choices that do matter, however, or at least they're impactful enough to trick you into thinking they did matter, and most of these are from the DLC Fate of Atlantis, not so much the main game. In the first act of the DLC, you find yourself in beautiful Elysium working for Persephone, or against her, I guess. When she discovers that Leonidas, the Greek hero of Sparta who held back the Persian invaders, is alive, Persephone offers you a choice. Kill Leonidas, your grandfather, and she will bring back someone you love. I won't mention who she offers to resurrect, but you can choose between 2 major story characters whose deaths are unavoidable moments that define Kassandra as she moves forward, and now Persephone offers you a chance to save one of them. When you approach Leonidas, he invites you to fish with him, and he tells you more about himself, really connecting with Kassandra in the moment. Then the game offers you a choice. Kill Leonidas for Persephone, or tell Leonidas and lose your chance to see your loved ones forever. I chose not to kill Leonidas, and Kassandra was forced to let go of seeing her loved one again, until the Underworld, but I'll leave that one for you to figure out later. Another example in Elysium involves you poisoning Persephone's loyal followers, as you're led to believe that they're evil. But as you poison them, Kassandra realizes that they're just people who love Persephone. She is their god, and all they do is talk about her life and revel in her rule. They're actually quite happy and quite nice. You then have the choice to let them die, or warn them that you've poisoned them. At this point, the story is displaying Persephone as a villain, so you're encouraged to let them die, which I did, but it is clearly an unwise decision. I've spent the last however many minutes gushing about how Odyssey is this brilliant game that no one will give a chance. Aside from a large and dedicated fanbase Odyssey has amassed over the years. But the game still gets joked around as a bad Assassin's Creed game. Well, I think there's one simple fix that would have cemented Odyssey's reputation as one of the greatest open world games ever put on the market. The misconception around this game begins and ends with the title, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Going forward, you expect certain things from Odyssey, certain things that the game only half delivers on. It still has a stealth-focused gameplay loop, it still has parkour, and it still has the general Assassins equal good and Templars equal bad, or in this case, the cult storyline. It still has the modern day storyline too, which I skipped entirely because it's a waste of screen time, and it had almost no bearing on what happens in the past storyline. The rest of the things you want from an Assassin's Creed game, however, are missing. It is set so far in the past before the rest of the games that the connections between Odyssey and the rest of the games feels almost shoehorned in, and most of these connections are made in the DLC post-launch, which to me implies that they are shoehorned in to address complaints. But I think people, and ultimately Ubisoft, have been looking at things in the wrong light. Odyssey is a brilliant game, a solid action-adventure with romantic subplots and insanely detailed open world, always something new for you to do, but it's not a very good Assassin's Creed game. In fact, it's kind of a terrible Assassin's Creed game. It's too disconnected from the story, too much has changed, and even little things like the hidden blade are missing, until the DLC again. But think of Odyssey for a moment as a standalone game, one with no connections to the Assassin's Creed franchise, one set in its own historical fiction universe. If you look at Odyssey from this angle, you can't deny its appeal, its beauty, its brilliance even. This game delivers one of the best open worlds of all time, and it hands you the whole thing for you to decide how you want to play it. There's always a reason to lose an hour exploring a new area, or to stop and smell the roses, maybe help out a local who's in need of a mercenary, or again, just do whatever you want. Had Odyssey been a new IP, it probably wouldn't have sold as well as it did. The Assassin's Creed name guarantees a successful title commercially, but it would have been received more respectfully, and instead of being the worst Assassin's Creed game, maybe you could find it on lists of amazing games that you've just never played. If you've made it this far through the video, you're probably asking, okay Syrax, but you still haven't told me just how Assassin's Creed changed everything. And well, the answer to that question is a lot simpler. It changed the way I play games forever. It unlocked so many new ways to enjoy games for me that I would have never thought of before. As I mentioned earlier, I've only played one game since Odyssey, that being Ghost of Tsushima, and Odyssey's influence over me is shockingly strong. I go off the beaten path, I find beauty in the world and I absorb it. I ride my horse instead of fast traveling because I want to spend more time in this world. I want to be here and help these people. Odyssey taught me to explore, this sensation that drives children to wander off from their parents, this feeling we all had when we were little that either disappeared for some people, myself included, or is simply too expensive for others, also myself included. Odyssey uses subtle guidance to download this behavior into your brain, slowly pulling you into its world, knowing that you won't be able to escape, and intoxicating you with its digital beauty in a way that so many other games do, and now I notice it. Truthfully, Odyssey changed everything for me. The way I play these types of games is so much more in depth now, because now I understand that whilst not every cave or cliffside removed from the main road holds a reward for me, the journey itself is the reward. I may not find a new quest, I may not find loot, I may not even find an enemy to obliterate with my abilities, but I will find adventure, and that is what Odyssey is about. When the game finally ended, 5 minutes short of 9 days into my Odyssey, I found my eyes watering with emotion. Not because Odyssey has a sad ending, it actually has somewhat of a bittersweet good ending, but because my adventures with Kassandra were officially at an end. I have completed the game, and my time in ancient Greece was over. Time to uninstall from my Xbox and play something else. I even found my favourite spot on the map and sat there for 15 minutes just to take a breather and let the game go. But this game sticks with you, refuses to let you go. And I'm glad it had such an impact on me that I've already begun to savour another game so quickly after finishing it. So if anything, I hope this video encourages you to try Odyssey. Maybe you never much understood it, maybe the quest log was too intimidating and large for you, or maybe you never gave it a chance because Reddit user/Ezio rules with 5 Z's said this game is the worst Assassin's Creed game of all time. Whatever the case may be, I hope this video changes your mind and you get a chance to explore ancient Greece and fall in love with exploring the world around you like I did. Thanks for watching, and Kere.